Hi, this is Eric. I am the Gray Goat. It's my garage, it's my rules, and we're powered by ombwarehouse.com. Today we're going to start assembling the head from the Predator 224 Max Performance engine. What I did with this head was I had it milled, 40 thousandths here. I want to bump up the compression a little bit. I've also put my intake manifold on for my VM22 Mikuni Chai-Kuni carburetor, and I port matched this to the port. You're going to notice when you bolt this on, it's not going to be matched perfectly to the port, so you need to go in, clean that up. What we're looking for is the smoothest entry in the port and on the way out. And I had another video where I showed the annealing of this copper gasket. The reason I want to use copper on this is because I want my gasket to match the port, which this gasket does. You can zoom in on this a little bit. So with the gasket matching the port like this, I know I have a smooth exit out of the exhaust port, and then once I finalize the header on this, I'll go back and match the header the best I can to this gasket. Kills me when I see all these professional engine builders with a gasket like this on it. You'll notice that this gasket hangs in the port, gosh, probably 3/16 of an inch right there, and all the way, well, about a 16th here. What that does is as that gas is coming out of the cylinder, it's hitting this edge of this gasket and there's turbulence in it. So that's not something we want. We want smooth in, smooth out. The more you can get, the more air you can get in the engine, the more exhaust you can get out of the engine, the more power you're going to make. Okay, so today we're going to get the valves started. One thing I noticed is I put in a stock spark plug, and because I've milled this head 40 thousandths, put my straight edge over it, and it's hitting the spark plug electrode. That's not so much of an issue depending on how far that electrode or the contact is down into that cylinder. We're going to be getting our 30 thousandths clearance between the head and the top of the piston, and that's for crank flex, but I want to make sure that my spark plug's not hitting. So this is one of those high quality stock spark plugs that I never use. I even noticed that when I put in the standard 3910X Autolite racing plug, and before I even had it tight, I noticed it's hanging into the cylinder quite a bit. I don't believe that we have any clearance issues. Nope, it's still sticking in. But I don't know that I want this electrode sitting this far down in the cylinder. So you can hear the kids across the street cheering for me too. So what I'm going to use is I've got 4 of the copper shims. We sell these at OMB Warehouse. They're spark plug indexing shims. If I put 4 shims onto this plug and get it into the head, you're welcome. I can get the tip of this plug to sit back in the head a little bit. I know I'm not going to have any issues with it being too far down into the chamber hitting anything. So that's something I'm going to do. For this head, we have the stainless steel valve kit going in, and that's typically this kit's always been for the Hemi Predator. The kit includes intake valve, exhaust valve. You get 26-pound springs, billet retainers, split keepers, and the high-performance lash caps that are thin that'll go on top of these. But before we do anything with the head, what we need to do that's my goat, is we need to lap the valves to the head. And what lapping does is just like the flywheel, and it's going to help this valve match this seat perfectly. If you have any leaks around this, once the spark plug fires, the combustion pressure will force that all that pressure out back through the valve, so you'll get some reversion out out of the intake manifold. So right now we're going to lap the valves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of valve grinding compound, and we sell this also, but this is a common item at most auto parts stores. You know, your typical chain auto parts stores are going to ask you, oh, what year's the car, does it have air conditioning? And no, you'll find this in the tools section of most auto parts stores. I am going to put just a little bit of oil on this valve stem just to help it. And this is the intake valve that we're going to do. And I'm just going to set that down in there. And now I'm going to get my suction cup stick, and I'm going to stick this to the face of the valve. Kind of want it centered in the valve. And now I'm just going to use light pressure and just push down on this valve a little bit. I'm going to pull it out, get just a little more contact, a little more lapping material. And I'm not going to use this towel again after I have lapping. Valve grinding compound is liquid sandpaper, so I don't want this anywhere else in my engine. That's all it takes, is just a couple swirls like that. And then once I have it done, I'm going to take my rag and I'm going to come back and remove the compound from the valve. Just like lapping a flywheel, what I'm looking for is a nice thin gray parting line here on the face of the valve and in the seat itself. I want to know that it's working. If I have a nice gray line on the seat, and I just did the wrong valve. It needs to be on the seat and on the face of the valve. If we have that, then we know everything's good. Because I screwed that up, I'm going to do it again. So we're going to get the compound on there, drop that valve in there. Be careful not to get it on the stem or in the guide. And then I'm going to pull the valve back out. Gotta love the dogs barking. And then I'm just going to hit it again real quick, real light. And now I can wipe off my valve, and now I see a perfect gray line all the way around the face of the valve where it's cut. And now we'll go back and look at the seat. So the seat has the same gray line all the way around it. So now that I know when I install this valve, it's going to sit perfectly on the seat, and I don't have to worry about any of that combustion pressure escaping. So I'll just put a little more. Now we'll really do the exhaust valve. So put our suction cup back on there. Take this out. Put a little more compound right on where I want it to seal. Reinstall it. Clean it up really well. I don't want any valve grinding compound anywhere else on this engine. I've got a nice gray line around the valve. And a nice consistent gray line around the seat. So we're good on that. So now what I need to do is take this valve grinding compound and put it away from anything else because I don't want to get it on anything else. At this point, I will take my towel, lay it down on the bench so I don't get anything polluted. Clean everything really well. I don't want that compound in on the guides, so we'll make sure that everything is perfectly clean. The rag that we use for the valve grinding compound, bye-bye. I'm going to go back and clean up my valves. And now we can start assembling the head. And then once I have this head done, I know it's clean, no dust, nothing, no grime in it. So at that point, I'll put it in a bag or wrap it up to make sure that it stays clean. Now, I'm not as strong as a lot of you guys out there, so I'm going to use a valve spring compressor. We have these on the site in the engine building section. So, but the thing I forgot is the valve seal. Please hold while your request is being processed. Okay, I have all the stock parts here. Hopefully the valve seal is there. I see it. Okay, so valve seal. This only is going to go on the intake side. We don't use a seal on the exhaust side. It's not needed. A little extra lubricant in the guide is a good thing. And there's vacuum on the intake port, and we don't want it sucking in oil as we're going. So I'm going to start with the intake valve. Just going to use a little bit of oil on the stem. Hopefully a little bit of oil on the stem. There we go. You don't want a lot here. You don't want it dripping in the engine later. So I'm going to put the intake valve in. I'm going to push down on the seal so I don't disrupt the seal. And then I'm going to take my spring and retainer, set it on here, and then I'm going to get 2 of these split locks. We're focused right here. Okay, I have to talk to my cameraman occasionally. Thank you, cameraman Christian. Okay, so these kits don't come with this. I put this on there because I don't want to mar the face of a valve. So I got this at the hardware store. It's just a little rubber cap. Was $1. So now I can feel that that rubber cap is centered. On top of the valve, and then I'm just going to use this to compress the spring. You guys that can do 26-pound springs with just your fingers, you certainly have my my approval. I'm not that strong. I'm not as strong like the rest of you guys, so I have to use the right tools. So I'm going to get one side of the split keeper in first, and then come back and do the other side. I'm going to slowly release. And I didn't get it right, so I'm going to do it again. You know, the other day when I did this, I nailed it. Got it done one try, one shot. But it doesn't work that way when you're filming. So one thing I want you all to know, if I screw up, you might screw up too. So I just dropped the other retainer off and out. So I'm going to gently release the tension on this. If you don't get it the first time, that's okay. Just go back and do it again. Okay, it's on there. I'm going to keep my finger on it so it doesn't go boing. Okay, now we got it. So I'm going to move the head a little bit to move the valve over so I can get this down in there. Sorry you don't have a good view of this, but Lord knows this ain't easy. Because if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it, right? Haven't had this much trouble with this in a long time. Let's hope the exhaust side goes easier. Okay, use my magnet to pick it up. Make sure it's still clean. In fact, I'm going to use my magnet to get the other one out now. Hopefully. And we're just going to start over. What I did was I had the spring too far compressed and the split keepers went down in too far. So let's give this another shot. Okay, first one in. I can't imagine doing this while trying to push down on the spring at the same time. Okay, now I can release the tension on the spring, and I push down on it. We're all good on the intake side. So now we're going to do the exhaust side. So same thing for the exhaust side. I'm just going to put the retainer on top of the spring, a couple drops of oil, put the valve in, spring and retainer, try not to go so far down on this, and let's nail this one the first time. These parts are so small, it helps when you have sausage fingers to have some pliers around to help drop these in there. I have some bent nose, needle nose that I use, and these seem to work very well for this. Go down a little bit more. Oops, that drops down. Okay, there we go. All right, valves are installed. Okay, now I've got both valves installed, and now we can, we're ready for rockers and everything else. I will be showing a video on Champion rockers with this head, because I'm going to use the new style Champion rockers, and I will also be showing how to set those up, how to do head studs, and this is all for the Predator 224 engine. I like that this gasket's hard to go on, because that means it's not moving a whole bunch once I have it on. Typically when I'm storing small parts like the lash caps for this, I will put these in a baggie with a magnet, and when you lose one, it's heartbreaking because it takes time to find it. If you don't find it, then you got to buy another one. So that's really about it. I can't impress upon you how important it is to port match your gaskets on both sides. That's very important. And lap your valves. Valve grinding compound's inexpensive. We sell the suction cups on the site, and we also have the valve spring compressor on the site. So we've got everything you'll need to help you assemble your head and make you look like a semi-pro engine assembler like myself. Okay, so this is the head off the Predator 224. This is similar to putting stainless valves in any head, really. So doesn't matter what the engine is. I am Eric. I am the Gray Goat. It's my garage, my rules. We're powered by ombwarehouse.com. Everything that you see that I've used today is available at ombwarehouse.com. Thank you.